New things coming to Toy Story Land in Hollywood Studios. We're going to talk about that tonight and give you some opinions about Toy Story Land, so buckle up. We're going to talk about lunar offerings coming for the Lunar New Year at Disneyland and much more tonight on ParksCenter. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, January 23rd, 2022. Welcome to ParksCenter. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside, and if you have not already, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know you like the show. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on your notifications for lots of great programming. We've got a great panel for you tonight, starting with Mr. Dave Smith. How are you, sir?
Hey, doing well, Rob. Good evening, everyone.
And we have Shannon with us.
Hey, howdy, hey.
And, oh my gosh, this is a get. How did we get this fella? This is a big one. Mr. Tom Corliss.
That guy from YouTube. I did not approve that before I was on.
No.
I just figured people don't see enough of me on this channel every week.
Right, exactly. I mean, you know, between News Tonight 200 coming up this week and you got, what is that, timekeeping? Is that thing you do? I mean, you got a lot of stuff on your plate, plus News Today. So thank you.
I think I'm almost on here every day of the week now. I think almost every day of the week.
Well, your mom must be so proud, man. This is exciting. All right, so thank you for being on tonight. We appreciate it. Tonight, the first thing we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about Toy Story Land. Toy Story Land opened up in 2018, June 30th. And when it opened up, it was a little disappointing, I think. I think we can all agree to that it was not what we had been promised, what we thought it was going to be. There was some concept art that they released early on that showed a very different Toy Story Land. If I can pull this up here, so we had Al's Toy Barn, we had just a little restaurant over on the side. There was some really big game thing that was supposed to be there. Tom, what happened?
You know the answer. You know what happened.
I want to hear you say
it. A song that goes along with it. It was Chapek all along. Yeah. So he got the job in 2015, right? We get the 2015 D23 Expo. It's the announcement of Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge. So we have like the full announcement of what the expansion of Hollywood Studios is going to be. And then I think immediately between them, and not just Chapek, right? Like sometimes I think we forget that the park management doesn't want to pay for things. And so I think they started to look at what the costs were really going to be as construction began, and what is it going to cost to actually build Galaxy's Edge, and what is it actually going to cost to build and operate Toy Story Land. And they started to hack at it, right? And that's okay, right? Because under Chapek that was okay. So it was like, oh, that's all right. Things will be fine. So it's, Galaxy's Edge doesn't need entertainment. Galaxy's Edge doesn't need that third ride. Toy Story Land, we don't need all this extra theming elements at Slinky Dog Dash. We don't need the urinals in the men's restroom to be at different heights for children and adults. They could all be a child height. That'll go fine. We can build a counter service restaurant that's not really meant to be a counter service restaurant. It's really just a service window. But we'll put a full menu there at opening, and there'll be no covered seating and only 10 tables, but it'll be fine. And we're going to cut away this restaurant with this Western Town facade, and we're going to cut away this Big Al's Toy Barn store, and we'll just build 2 outdoor kiosks, and everything will be fine. And that's what happened. What's funny is this art was not just released. This art was blown up and printed and put on a construction wall at Hollywood Studios, and then miraculously, one day we went back and it's like, oh, look, they put up a new giant piece of concept art, and all that stuff from the other one is missing now. So what's funny is if you go to Shanghai Disneyland, a lot of the stuff that got cut kind of still got built there. So that Al's Toy Barn shop exists in Shanghai. It's actually kind of cool.
Is that one Shanghai?
That's not ours.
This one.
Is that the Shanghai? There's Shanghai. And you'll see, well, they built the Woody's Roundup sort of Western town, but it's actually the queue and entrance for Woody's Roundup, which is it's almost like Alien Swirling Saucers or Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, but it's really cute. It's the little bullseye style horses pulling you in carriages. It's actually my favorite version of that ride that's been built. It's really adorable. And so those things, a lot of those things still made to Shanghai. Shanghai didn't get the coaster though, so I think a majority of our budget was spent on Slinky Dog Dash, which, you know, it's an outdoor roller coaster. It's not that expensive, but it's probably more expensive than the flat rides that they've already built 4 times previously that are in the Shanghai one. So what happened was they just decided, well, Star Wars, yeah, we're going to probably cut the entertainment and that thing where you ride on top of a bantha or whatever it was. But they're like, we can't really cut much more to Galaxy's Edge. Let's see what we can hack out of Toy Story Land.
Well, and, you know, when I look at some of this concept art, like this little bridge that walks around, like it really feels like you're able to go and walk around Slinky Dog. Right now, you could totally miss Slinky Dog if you didn't know where you were going and what you were doing. Because it's over, I mean, it's
So that one's not a budget thing, though. That was a lawyer thing. The lawyers didn't want you going under the coaster.
That makes sense.
That one wasn't budget, but everything else there.
Next time they should consult the lawyers first, though, before they show me something cool. That's what they should do. Let me
I don't want the lawyers to hack at the art first. Let's see the art. Then first the art, then the lawyers.
That's
like
fair.
That order.
Shannon, are you happy with what we got? Or are you, I mean, I feel like you're a super fan. You're all dressed up. So tell me what you're thinking.
Clearly. No, I mean, what the concept art was a land, and what we got was a thoroughfare behind what was the great movie ride into Galaxy's Edge. It can't feel like a land when you have 3 attractions, and like Tom said, a service window. It's essentially a snack cart. It makes no sense to me even still getting this Jesse's Trading Post as a store. It's kind of lost on me why they wouldn't just go for that Al's Toy Barn, because it is spectacular in the overseas park. And you don't need a backstory. Why is there a backstory for Jesse's Trading Post? I don't get it, but I am hopeful, however, that, you know, these little additions, Woody's Roundup Barbecue, which this is going to sound ridiculous and you may laugh at me. I'm hopeful it's going to be like Bistro Chez Remy.
Okay.
Is that far-fetched?
That's what it's going to be? I don't know. Tom's laughing, so I'm guessing no?
The concept art looks a little flat, but, you know, you got to have hope somewhere, right?
Yeah, so just so we know what we're talking about here, here's the concept art for you know, the inside of this. And I guess I get what you're saying, that like with the Chez Remy, where you feel like you've been like shrunk down to the size of a rat. But when I look at this, I don't know.
Tables and chairs don't look themed though.
Yeah, I don't know what we're getting when we go to this. So yeah, let me get your take on all this, David.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thoughts are very similar. I understand conceptually what they were going for. I actually agree with the concept. I think there is enough in this property to mine for a land. I don't think the 3 attractions necessarily is the problem here. I think the 3 attractions are decent. I mean, Toy Story Midway Mania was a good attraction. You know, Slinky Dog, I think, is a very good attraction. And, you know, certainly the alien swirling saucers is a good sea level attraction as well. So you got 3 excellent attractions there. It was the execution of everything else around those that just fell apart. And it came down to the small details in this land. There's not enough of those small details to make you just stand there and take them in and feel like you're part of that world. You really are disconnected from the world of Toy Story. And I think that's where this land fell short. I think, to Tom's point, if they had gone ahead with a lot of what they were planning, you might have had that. But I'm still not sure in that concept art we had enough to make it feel like an overwhelming Disneyland like we've seen in other areas. It does not feel like Cars Land, and it should.
Yeah, no, that's, oh, good Lord. So one of the reasons we're talking about this now, and I think, Shannon, you kind of talked about it a little bit, is that we were told that, first of all, we got the news that they were adding a shade structure to Woody's Lunchbox, which, I mean, we may have been hearing a lot that there should be shade in Toy Story Land, and there never has been. It really is obvious when you're there and it's raining and it's hot and you go through there. And so they're adding this shade structure and some extended eating area to what is really currently their only eating option.
Maybe people can sit on top of it.
I mean, Well, then they're still not going to have
up
any
there.
shade, Tom. That defeats the whole purpose. The other thing,
Yeah,
that
but at
we-
least there'll be somewhere for them to sit.
Yeah.
Which is a big change for Lunchbox.
True. The other thing that we were told was that they were going to have that we now have a date, sort of a date that they're going to open up in 2022. Woody's Roundup Barbecue Restaurant, and then also a store themed to Jesse. So Jesse's Trading Post. Now that's why we're talking about it now. But I think one of the articles that we ran, Tom, was saying that that they're making up for their budget constraints that they had over the top, which feels a lot like old DCA, right? Like that was the first thing that that Iger did when he came in and took over for Eisner. Was he was like, what are the things people are complaining about? DCA looked like it was done on the cheap. Let's go fix it. I feel like you can't really do that if you're Chapek because you were the one responsible. So it's not like they're going to fixing anything here. So why now?
You still can. I think because Hollywood Studios, right, they've wrapped up everything else they had to do. And I think people complain. I think they get tired of every day people coming to that park and being like, we ate at Woody's Lunchbox and we fought for 20 minutes for a table. And then we ended up not getting one. And we sat, next to a garbage can on the floor in the sun. And it was miserable. The same way Slinky Dog Dash, you remember, like, it was only a couple months in that they built that like haphazard shade structure on the exterior cube because they had to. They missed the mark. They left people in the sun for hours. And you can't do that. You've been building theme parks in Florida for, at that point, 40-something years. You know what you have to build so that people can enjoy the park. And you simply chose not to for money. You're like, oh, we don't need to build a full restaurant. We'll build this kind of tiny service window. But then food and beverage came in and was like, oh, by the way, you have breakfast and lunch, and here's your full menu with like 5 entrees. And they're like, oh, so we are a full counter service restaurant? Yeah, you're a full counter service. Okay. We don't really have that seating, but all right, sure. And so now it's kind of like, what does the park still need? The park still needs table service. The land still needs an interior store. The land still needs shade. And so now it's this nice little project where it's like, all right, let's go back into Toy Story Land and I mean, what feels like at minimal, do what we were supposed to do, right? Because I think the biggest thing to realize is this is not them going back and fixing the problem. This is not DCA where it was like, here's $1 billion, fix whatever you need to fix. This is, what is the bare minimum that could be spent to fix, right? Because if you look at that concept art of the exterior of Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, it's not a Western town, it's a cardboard box, which, it's real easy to build a square building and then make it look like a cardboard box. It doesn't cost a lot of money. This is like if Cedar Fair like tried to build a Disney level land. Like that's what Toy Story Land feels like, and this is not going to fix it. Like that concept, that is probably one of the worst pieces of concept art in the 60-something year history of Imagineering. Does not make me excited to go there. It doesn't look good. If you can't make it look good in concept art, don't build it. Because the concept art, no matter what the project is going to look better. So, I don't know. It's like bare minimum, what can we spend to fix the problem?
If you think you hate the front, wait till you see the back.
Well, that's still the front. That's the entrance, by the way, that hole in the wall.
So here's a question I have about this restaurant. Let's talk about this for a second. Is this restaurant was like, it's all prefab, and all of the walls were put together 2 years ago now? Like, why have they been sitting on this for so long? Yeah, but
the same way they've been sitting on everything else that hasn't opened yet, right?
Tron.
How many restaurants?
But I
The
feel,
attractions,
yeah, I feel like if you open
They're
this up,
spacing things out because there is no plan to build more, right? Like everything that's not broken ground on yet is on hold or dead. So now it's a game of, post-COVID, can we run out the clock till 2024, 25 using just the stuff that was supposed to open in 2021? So, we got to have something in 22, Guardians. All right, what are we doing in 23? Tron. All right, what are we going to, and it's how do we survive until then on what's already mostly paid for? And that's where we're at.
2027 Mary Poppins? So let me ask you this, Shannon.
Only if you swing into an alternate universe.
Because that's gone forever. Shannon, let me ask you this, because I feel like this property probably means something more to you, because I feel like you probably grew up with this property. There are 4 movies for Toy Story. There are TV shows. There were series. Like, it feels like this property deserves better.
Of course it does, but don't get me started on the 4th Toy Story because it was an atrocity. But for sure, I mean, this was the big franchise. This was the Frozen of my childhood. And, you are handed this group of people that were brought into this, Disney era, this Disney fandom, who would live. I mean, obviously, I would buy anything that has Toy Story, and I have the money to do it now because I'm a grown adult. So why you're just letting that go to waste is a shame. And I think the bigger thing, and Dave kind of touched on this before, was the execution was poor, but the execution in the change of Hollywood Studios and MGM, right? Like, it was this place where you saw how the movies were made, you saw the prop shops, the costuming, and then it kind of transformed into this, you're in the movie, which kind of worked with Galaxy's Edge, but with Toy Story Land, you don't know where you are. You're just in there's a few rides and that's it. You don't feel immersed in any way. You don't feel like you're in a themed area. And by the way, this is just like every other theme park, right?
Yeah, I think you made a good point about it feeling like just a pass-through to Galaxy's Edge, because it kind of does feel that way. It's like you're walking through the carnival area of some cheap amusement park on your way to go to Galaxy's Edge or coming back from Galaxy's Edge. David, you have small-ish kids. Do they go crazy for this? Are we being too brutal?
They like the attractions, but they're not overexcited to go through the land, just because it is a literal desert to go through that area of the park during certain months of the year. So while they're excited to run back and do Slinky Dog quick, they don't want to stick around in the land. They don't want to look at everything that's there. They certainly are not going after the merchandise, which I think, to Shannon's point, is a huge area that Disney's missed. There's a ton you could have merchandised with this land and with this film property, and they feel like they're missing all of that. And my kids just, the one ride and then they're out. Even Midway Mania anymore doesn't hold a lot for them, even though that is the one attraction that's inside.
Tom, let me ask you this, because I feel like you've got a better handle on it than the rest of us. Is this the worst Toy Story land?
No. No. No.
Because I pulled up some pictures. Paris. Is that it just feels like they just crap all over this IP. I mean, there's the jumping jellyfish.
That's the problem. The problem is Toy Story lends itself, because everything's plastic. They're toys, so it lends itself. You can get away with this cheap look, right? And because it's for kids, they only build amusement rides. I'm sorry, but this is what I think is the greatest travesty is 90s Disney, right? The movies we grew up with, the 2 biggest hits, Lion King and Toy Story. We've never gotten an e-ticket for either of them. We've never gotten a big budget, incredible attraction for either of those things. Toy Story Mania is great. I like Toy Story Mania. It's a good CD ticket ride, right? But these are tremendous movies that are huge, mega box office blockbusters that are proven. They still move merchandise when, David hit the nail on the head. The merchandise line for Toy Story Land was garbage. Other than the little launching Slinky Dog coaster toy and those swirling saucer vehicles, everything else was, that Slinky Dog headband was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It didn't even look like the character. So this isn't the worst Toy Story Land, but the problem is none of them are good. It's only good in Hong Kong because the scale works, because it's set against the mountains on the island, and so it's really pretty. And then, the Paris one's the worst. That's the worst one. But they're all just kind of eh.
Rob?
Yeah, so that happened. I feel like that was a land that already had lost so much, like all the extra scenes that were supposed to be around Slinky Dog, and just it feels like it was already budget cut down. And then once it opened, it seemed like there was one problem after another. The Monte Cristo sandwich was removed from Woody's. Then the fence, people were like tearing the fence apart just by like hanging around it, basically. I think the plastic fence.
People are putting their foot through them. Yeah.
And then you got, we lost the tail on Slinky Dog, which was like that. Yeah, that was a thing. And
They
so
still rattle real bad too. Like they're junky trains. If you sit in the back, all you hear the whole time is that thing, just things rolling around and hitting each other, and you're like, this isn't gonna last forever.
yeah, I mean, it just feels like a lot of it has been just kind of, it's just been one letdown after another. It's like, if this was your first trip and your kids were excited because they love Toy Story and they came into the park and this is what they saw, I gotta think they'd be disappointed about the whole thing. Here's another question I have for you guys, and I'm going to start with you on Shannon. Have you ever been to Disneyland?
Yes.
Have you been to Cars Land?
Oh, the best.
So let me ask you a
The
question.
best, hands down.
Why do you like Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and maybe not so much Alien Swirling Saucers when it's exactly the same ride system? Your thoughts?
I didn't go on it, to be honest. I went on Racers.
How dare
You genuinely feel like you stepped onto the set, that you're in the middle of the movie. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And although, Racers could be Test Track copycat in a way, it was totally different. I fell in love instantly. They have the cozy cone. They do Halloween decor. Everything's amazing. They care for it. They love it. And we just don't get that love in Florida.
Speaking of Halloween decor, there was a great overlay. Speaking of things we keep losing, there's a great overlay. Not great. There was a cool overlay for Christmas in Toy Story Land. And then for the past 2 years, they haven't done it.
Cool.
Dude, I'm at this point,
Tom's not a fan.
at
So
this
they
point,
turned Rob. I got to defend Disney here. I know you just want to be negative on this show. Every
Yeah,
week.
yep,
Rob,
that's
they
me.
turned on. That jingle sound effect was on this year on Slinky Dog Dash. So I don't know what you're talking about. So his butt was jingling all over that track. Yeah, they played the Christmas music on Swirling Saucers. Rob.
David, back me up here, man.
No, but you're right. Like the six props did not return.
Yeah.
Well, it would have taken them all of 15 minutes to put them out, so who has that kind of time anymore? Going back to the question you asked Shannon, Rob, I don't know if you're on mute again, but I'm going to go ahead and jump in here.
Do it.
The thing that differentiates it for me is really simple. Trees. Cars Land, set in the American Southwest that is supposed to be a desert, actually has trees around their attractions. If you go on Mater's, there's vegetation around there. I can't think of a single piece of vegetation within Toy Story Land. Evidently, Andy's backyard is in an apartment complex because you get no differentiation that this is his backyard.
So isn't that by design, though? Because it's supposed to be just grass, right? Because if a tree was there, it's supposed to be like 200 feet tall.
I get that, but why not plant a bunch of bamboo then?
Yeah.
Or huge
Right,
flowers.
so in Hong Kong, what I love about the Hong Kong and Shanghai, they do have a ton of bamboo and it works really well. Yeah. You can have bamboo. We have it in Animal Kingdom.
Is that this?
It's not in the art, really. You don't really see it in the art, but if you go in person, it's there.
Gotcha. So we're getting a new restaurant and we're getting a new store, and we don't really know where the store is going, but we're getting a new store so that we don't just have the two little kiosks, and then honestly, the one that's inside of Toy Story Mania when you're leaving, it feels like you're doing a drug deal. It's like they
They should be
you mean
ashamed.
Woody's fire door?
Yeah, it's
It's
like
Canal
Whoa,
Street.
these fire door.
they pull you aside and it's like, hey, psst, come here, buy some crap. It's right over here. Come on in here. It's just, it seems like a place you shouldn't be. It seems like a backstage cast area, and everything we've heard is like maybe it used to be a break room or something. I don't know, but it just doesn't make any sense that they would keep that there. So I'm hoping that they do something better. But as we look at Toy Story Land, this was the first piece to open on the bones of old studios, and they really just didn't come out of the gate strong. I mean, there's so many other things. Like, I know I've heard a lot of people complain about the fact that when you come out of Galaxy's Edge into Toy Story Land, there's no transition. It's just like you're there.
There was supposed to be a tunnel that got cut too.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot that's very disappointing about it in general. So as we wrap up this section, I just want to kind of get final thoughts from each of you, and I'll start with you, Shannon, and we'll go back up around to Tom. Just final thoughts on Toy Story Land, the future of it, the past, the hope of the future, I guess. So Shannon, you go first.
You know, I'll leave it off on a positive note. I've always given appreciation to the load area on Midway Mania, because that does feel like Andy's room, and that feels like you're part of the movie, and that's probably the pitfall to Toy Story Land, right? Because this is a backyard, and it's not really a huge part of the movie, and it's not distinct. So I think they're struggling with that, and I'm going to keep myself hopeful, and I'm looking forward to my coffee-crusted steak hors d'oeuvre.
Okay, David.
Yeah, I mean, they're only going to be able to do so much. I don't think they're going to fix all the issues in this part of the park, but maybe they'll get it good enough that it's not an avoid part of the park, but it's not going to be the Toy Story Land that we all thought was possible.
Okay, and Tom?
I don't know about everyone else, but I'm super excited for Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, because I cannot get a Sci-Fi dine-in reservation to save my life anymore. And I just want to eat at Sci-Fi. So if that opens some tables for people to eat at another restaurant, I can go to Sci-Fi, that'll be great. I mean, I'm never going to like this land. They're never going to spend the amount of money necessary for me as an adult to think this land is good and worth being a land. And, you know, it probably is good for kids, and people like Slinky Dog, but they like Slinky Dog at the level they like, you know, the tiny little runaway ladybug roller coaster at their little local amusement park. Yeah, it's fun, and the kids liked it, and that's great, but that's not what Disney is. It's supposed to be something above that. It's supposed to be cute and fun and great, but also this immersive, wonderful thing unlike anything you've ever seen before, and that's what Toy Story Land is.
Yeah. Agree. We have a couple super chats. Thank you so much, Rosita. $50 and saying, hello, ParksCenter. Loving the panel tonight. Always find the show informative and good to see Tom on. And between you, me, and us, I can give or take Toy Story Land, sad but true. And then also Stephen Crawford for You Don't Get It. Chapek is singing Bare Necessities, Bare Necessities. And he says, love all the content. So thank you guys so much for the super chat. We really appreciate it. And again, if you have not already, give us a thumbs up. It helps Tom feel better. Really, it's very important. No, he says no, but
it
still,
does. It helps Rob feel better.
But still do it. So so Toy Story Land will just have hope for the future that there will be good things coming down the road. That the new restaurant will open up. It'll be Tom's new favorite restaurant, and then it'll give us the room to go and eat at Sci-Fi. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back right after this with Around the Hub park news from the Disney parks. Don't go away.
Don't miss the 3-hour celebration of episode 200 of WDW News Tonight. live on the WDWNT YouTube channel on January 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome to News Today with Universal Parks News Today. I'm Tom Corliss. Here now the news.
Welcome back to ParksCenter, and before we get into it, you saw the commercial for the 200th episode of the News Tonight. Tom, tell us a little bit about the 200th episode of News Tonight as I try to say things without tumbling over them.
Thursday night, 9 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. We are going to have a 3-hour special celebrating 200 episodes of WW News Tonight, which has been our Thursday night comedy variety series. It's live, as it's always been, and it will be a wild time. It's still, to my knowledge, the only show in the entire Disney fandom that has a live studio audience every week. It's the only comedy show I know of in all of the Disney Parks fandom. It's a lot of things. It's definitely the most unique thing we do, and I think anybody does. And so we're very excited to celebrate 200 episodes. We have a lot of really fun stuff. Mouse Tank is back this week. They're going to pitch some bad products. The map game is back. A lot of really fun stuff this week. 3 hours long. Not that it usually isn't, but 3-hour special this week. Thursday at 9.
Did you ever stop and ask yourself, is there a reason that there's not another comedy show for the Disney community? Just putting that out there.
I mean, I know why. I mean, number one, it's a lot of work, and number two, other websites aren't funny. So those would be the two main reasons in my estimation.
Fair enough. All right, let's get into some more parks news. And one of the things that we've been talking about for the past couple episodes is we've been talking about Festival of the Arts. There's a lot of things that we haven't been able to cover yet because we're still getting new information. But there's this new walk of colorful cuisine that has returned to the Festival of the Arts. The spin art, which I think is a very cool offering. Again, it's something unique to the to this festival. You know, the chalk art is amazing that's out there, and then popcorn buckets. Man, we've talked about this Figment popcorn bucket until we're like blue in the face, but right now there are no Figment popcorn buckets other than the one that Tom is flexing on his desk right there. So, and then of course there's the Eric
Nigel
Idle.
Channing.
Yeah.
The Nigel Channing popcorn bucket is available, though, so get that.
I don't really think it is.
So
they've removed the popcorn bucket from the Pop Eats menu. Do we think it's coming back? Or is it gone? There we go. Close up of Tom just going, I don't know. I mean, it seems ridiculous.
I don't know if they know. I don't know.
It seems ridiculous as excited as everyone was about this one, and it made like big headlines like outside of the Disney community about everybody lining up that day for 7 hours to get popcorn buckets. That they would be short-sighted not to make more, but maybe because this is such a short festival, they're not going to get them back for this. But maybe they do some more next year.
They're sold out of a lot of regular festival merchandise already, so I think maybe there was some concern and they short-ordered. I mean, we've seen it with a couple other festivals. They kind of short-ordered stuff, and I forget what other festival it was where some stuff was gone the first weekend and it never came back. Maybe it was even Festival of the Holidays. It was I don't remember, but one of them they short-ordered stuff because they're like, oh, we don't know.
Well,
that
Shannon's
seems to be a reoccurring thing.
Shannon's going down in a little while. Shannon, there's not going to be anything left for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is really sad. I'm really disappointed. I'm not calling you out, Tom, but I think Spike the Bee may have had something to do with them short ordering this year, but that's TBD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to
I'm
this
still
to hear?
I think they've accomplished what they've set out to do, and that is arguably across the board, everyone says this is the best festival that they offer. And I missed it last year by a day or two, so this year I'm making a point to go. And I don't ever go at this time of year, right? So, and that's the whole point. They're doing these festivals now to get people to come during historically low times. And you said with the spin art, it's unique. They have the chalk art, and they have all these various art vendors that you don't normally see all in one place. So it's special, and I think it's great. I'm looking forward to it, and there better still be stuff left.
David.
Resellers.
Oh no, don't start talking about that, David.
Yeah, I mean we're making a trip down during this period as well, mostly because of this festival, and so it's accomplished getting us down there. Going in, I said I think a couple of weeks ago to you that I don't think we'll make the popcorn bucket, that it'll be gone by the time we get there. I'm going to assume that's the case, so that way we won't be disappointed. But I think they've done a really good job with this so far, other than their merchandise ordering, which I don't know if that's supply chain. I don't know if that's just being short-sighted. I don't think you could compare the Spike the Bee numbers to Figment, because we know Figment drives merchandise. That's why they put them on everything for this park. So looking forward to it, though.
All right. Well, you know what? I hope they come back. I don't know that I feel like they will, though, especially because they've gone and made this very fancy sign to put out. They have spared no expense on this sign. I don't know where they came up with the paper or the large dot matrix printer to put it in, but this is impressive. So it is currently unavailable. I think you can still get the spork. That's a thing that you can get, but you can't get the popcorn buckets or the annual pass holder Magic Band. I think some of the pins might be hard to get as well. So the food, though. Man, this food, I don't know, Tom, if there's one thing that you've eaten that you think was like a cut above the rest. I know we've talked to a couple other people about it, but I mean, some of it looks just absolutely beautiful, and usually that means it doesn't taste so great. Has there been one thing that stands out to you that you think is worth it?
So first of all, cheap plug for the video right here on YouTube where Jake actually filmed me eating every single new item at the Festival of the Arts this year. You should go watch that if you want to know what's good and what's not. Compared to other festivals, I feel like Festival of the Arts usually succeeds the most in food and beverage. Like, there's usually the most things that I would go back and have again. The one item in particular this year that I'm loving is that Inside Out donut from the donut box, which is Bavarian cream over a donut instead of in it. I will say the one I had the other night was not as good as the first one. It's still good, but you probably want to go earlier in the day to get a fresh one.
Okay. And for those of you who are making a trek down, the Festival of the Arts will conclude on February 21st. So make sure that you make your plans accordingly. And, Shannon, you're right. It does usually happen at like a time where it feels like it's inconvenient to go, and it's such a short window versus the 19-month that is the Food and Wine Festival. So
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, as a vacation club member, one of the things that really got me excited about, not bragging, I promise, is about being.
Sorry, it's Saratoga. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's not real. It's not a good one. It's not a good one. No, actually, Polly, you're welcome. But the vacation club, like, I don't know, the benefits are not great anymore, I feel like, especially with the Moonlight Magic not being a thing that is available, and whether that's because of COVID or money or whatever. But the one thing that was like right at the cusp of when I finally signed up was this member lounge, which was at the former ImageWorks location, which actually I worked at this ImageWorks, so it was neat to be able to go back upstairs and see tier. It's like if the rainbow, like, tunnel was there, that would be the best. But
bring a green screen with you and pretend to do dramas with the Dreamfinder?
Yes, Joe Rohde is the Dreamfinder. Yes, it was fantastic. This is really, I think, a huge benefit, although it's very sort of muted because you only have certain hours, and if there's too many people up there, you can't get in. But it's nice that they have this benefit, and you can go upstairs and relax and chill out, and there's comfortable seats and semi-comfortable seats. And then you can also get Coke Freestyle, but apparently you can't get gummy bears anymore. I didn't know that until Tom told me that. But it's just, I mean, it's a nice little perk. I hate that every year it's like they have to remind us that it's just one more year. David, do you do DVC at all?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're DVC members, and I hear this about the perks going down, although I'm not sure. I can't think of any of the perks that we've lost that have been all that great. The, the Moonlight Magic, I'll give you that one, and annual pass discounts was another one. But this lounge was nice. I mean, I guess thank you Disney for not taking away and doing the absolute minimum to keep it, but I'm happy it's still there. We've used it quite a few times. We can get in.
Okay. Shannon, have you ever been in it?
No.
Okay. Let me just tell you how awesome it is and make you feel extremely jealous about it.
Let me tell you. So, do you ever wish that all the guests around you that have been out in the sun all day and are sweating, do you ever wish they all took their shoes off? Do you ever wish they all took their shoes off and sat near you? Do you also wish that you could have one of these really small bags of Cheez-Its that sometimes you get for Halloween from people at their houses? You sometimes wish you could have this much soda. Well, that's what you're missing out on at the DVC lounge.
You son of a... No, look, it's actually a pretty cool thing. I mean, it's nice that they do it. I just hate that it seems like it should be a standard thing that they do. I mean, you've invested a lot of money in this, especially if you bought them directly from Disney. They keep trying to make it so that people who buy aftermarket can't get benefits like this. I feel like it should be there. David, you touched on something that really hurts, is the idea that you're not getting AP discounts anymore as a DVC member. That, to me, is the biggest punch in the gut, because, if you're a DVC member, you're paying to be able to go all the time, or theoretically, to be able to go anytime you want. So you want to have an AP, and now you have to pay full price for it. Maybe that's fair, maybe it's not. I feel like that was a huge, like I said, gut punch that you can't get.
I mean, we already know how the company feels about annual pass holders, because they already have your money. You're not giving them any more money. Well, multiply that times 10, and that's DVC, right? You've already given them your money.
Yeah.
So they're not going to get any additional money when you come stay if you're using DVC. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they're not that eager to roll out the red carpet for us anymore.
Yep, I agree. Let's move on to this great signing bonus that you get if you come work for Disney. You get $6,000 as a hiring bonus for new cast members. And look how excited these people are. Here's the irony: is I'm betting these people not getting that $6,000. That's the funny part, is those folks are not getting the $6,000. I think about this in terms of, like DirecTV, or, when you go into like a Costco and they're like, hey, we'd like to sign you up for DirecTV. Hey, I already have DirecTV. Oh, well, screw you. It's like you don't get anything if you've been a loyal customer. And for loyal cast members, I feel like there should be something. And Tom, I know you probably have thoughts on this one.
We've heard it from cast members. Like, I've actually had cast members say to me that, what do I get for I came back. I've been back since, sometime in 2020, or I came back in 21, and now they just keep giving bigger and bigger bonuses to people coming back. Now, the thing I will say, the role they are having the biggest problem with is housekeeping, which, if you remember, was a problem before COVID. No one wants to be a housekeeper at an Orlando area hotel because it's a gross job. People are gross. I don't blame people for not wanting to do this job. It probably should pay more or have large bonuses. And that's the thing, is I'm like, well, yeah, you're frontline in the park, but, the bonuses for housekeeping, like, is there an opportunity to transfer to housekeeping? No, because you don't want to do it, right? You don't want to do that job. And the other one that's big is culinary, which requires some existing skills, right? Or it generally requires you to, be able to cook at a certain level. So, yeah, I mean, I get it in that it's jobs that not everyone either can do or wants to do. And so it's much easier to hire people for frontline, theme park operations. Not saying it's an easy job. People are terrible, and it's hot out, and it's not an easy job, but it is. I think we can all agree it's easier than housekeeping or, in some cases, culinary.
Well, and as you say, about the DVC lounge, if they've been out hot and sweaty and they take off their shoes, Lord knows what they're doing in their hotel rooms. Yeah, it's not pretty. But I mean, this
you
is
ever
one...
see just a pile of sheets sitting outside the room, and you're just like, I'm going the other way down this hallway. Not going that way.
Yep. This
To
is
the
actually
fire escape.
it's actually $1,000 to $6,000 hiring bonus for these positions. David, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is typical in the industry, and they're happy to offer these. I think a better strategy would be to offer a living wage for these positions. You'll get more applicants that way, but they're not going to do that, and if they have to do this to try to get people, they have to do it. It's part of the labor shortage that all companies are dealing with.
Yeah, Shannon?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I mean, I think they need to sweeten the pot in some other way because at this point, people see past these bonuses, which are short term, okay, graded little pop of money right at the beginning, but what's the catch? What are you getting for the rest of your time working there? Give them something a little extra.
Yeah, let's move on to decals at Disney. So here's the thing. I feel like that it's been said, maybe on WDWNT.com, maybe on News Tonight, about the decals that make up Pixar Pier, that it's just a big overlay of decals. And so clearly Disney likes decals. And then we found out that there were some decal problems in the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway queue, that the guests, horrible people that they are, and God knows what they do in their hotel rooms, but they're also peeling stickers off of the walls, right? So now here is a horrible thing that happened. They peeled these off the walls, and they were like, okay, we can fix this. We're going to go back and we're going to fix it. And when they went back to fix it, they put up all these brand new stickers on the walls, and now we have a new story that, look at this, they're all bubbling, they're cracking, they're coming off again. I don't know how much money this costs to do, Tom, to continually, re-sticker the walls, but seems like at some point they got to say uncle and go ahead and, I don't know, paint them?
This is the hill I'm going to die on, is this wall decal thing. From when it started a couple years ago, I remember when it started a couple years ago, there's plenty of examples of it at Disney World Beyond Railway. Number one, the Edna Mode meet and greet that was in Municipal or Pixar Place, all the walls were this decal. And I just remember the first week, just one whole wall was peeled. One whole wall was gone. It was completely gone. And then I remember specifically the new room at Toy Story Mania when they built the new queue in Toy Story Land. Back to Toy Story Land for bad quality. Here we go. That first room, those are decals that I remember in one of the maintenance reports famously, from the top down, the top corner, which is way above guests, no way they can reach that, was coming down. And then Pixar Pier, we saw immediately, just, they're not painted walls, they just throw in decals over everything. And then, so Railway, so the first time, the problem is if it was painted to begin with, you could have easily fixed this. You could have had someone go and fix this. And it said you did these decals, so it required when they were damaged, you had to peel the whole thing and put a new one up, and they put this lower quality one up. Not only lower quality in that it's bubbling, but lower quality in that it did not have the shiny gold finishes of the original one. So it was already a downgrade. And now it's clearly not a guest thing. It's bubbling on its own because it's a decal. It's not real wallpaper. It's not paint. They started to paint it and then realized, oh, we don't really have the scenic painters or people here in Florida, because we've got rid of half of Imagineering. We don't really have the people to hand paint this. So they gave up on that, and they printed these decals, and they put them up, and here we are 3 weeks later, and they're peeling. Because this is not a way to build a theme park for people, because people touch things, and decals, when they're touched, start to peel, or on their own they bubble, or they're just lower quality. It's junk. Stop doing it.
Yeah, I'm looking at when they took the decals down and painted or put the walls plain. I almost prefer this to what we're looking at now. But again, this is not a very well themed queue. This is supposed to be part of the Chinese theater. So I think that
what's amazing is the part of the queue before this is beautiful and intact. You know why? Because it was built in 1989, and it's wallpaper and paint, and it's gorgeous because they built things of quality in 1989.
Yeah, David, I see you nodding your head. We'll go a little extra innings on this one.
Yeah, it's an unbelievably short-sighted approach to this, because if you had painted these the first time, it doesn't mean they're not going to get damaged. Anything that's right next to gas is going to get damaged. But you could go in and touch that up in, half an hour, let it dry, and you'd be back to new that same day. With these, like Tom said, you got to peel them, you got to put on new ones, and then if they do a bad job putting the new ones on, like they did, you're going to have to rip them out in another month. Where's the savings here? What exactly are we saving for these decals that offer nothing additional to just painting?
They say the definition of insanity. Shannon, anything you wanted to say about this before we move on?
Yeah, well, you mentioned cost, and when I was in college and I had $14 in my checking account, my friends and I went to the dollar store and we bought wall decals to decorate our apartment. And it was beautiful, and it did what it was supposed to do. But it's not just people touching the walls. I just grab when you're hot and sweaty like me and your feet are throbbing and you're leaning against that bubbly decal, you know how dangerous these things are? These zippers, and that's just going to snag on that wall all day, kids.
Yeah, because the lounge fly's not made well either.
Yeah, true. He's not wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. So. On to better things, like the finer things in life.
Yes. So the reason we put this on, and this was a story we ran a little while ago, is on January 26th, the Grand Floridian Spa is reopening, and I know that we talked about this a little bit when Shannon was on before, so I wanted to save this as a conversation that we had when Shannon was back on, because I said, as she was talking about her experience in the parks, I'm like, you and I have very different experiences when we go to Disney. Hers was like, sipping Mai Tais by the pool and going to the spa and just very bougie, if I can say that and not offend you. I mean, clearly, obviously, but you know what? You tell me what this means to you, that this is opening up, and you said you're going back down there soon. Have you already made your reservations?
I looked at the reservations today, and there are plenty available. Actually, I'm partial to Ship Shape, which isn't open yet, but regardless, the reason why I'm so excited about it is because I slept on this for so long. I didn't go to a spa until 2020. And it was absolutely incredible. Not to mention, and I hesitate saying this on the internet, but the prices are very reasonable. I live in the tri-state area, so I live in a world where the cost of living is insane on a daily basis. So the prices at the spas there are completely comparable to what we have here, and I think everyone should try it and don't knock the spas.
I mean,
take it from me.
No, I'm not knocking it. Tom, you were Mr. Disney World. How many have you been to? How many of these spas have you treated yourself to?
So missing out.
Yeah. So again, a very different experience. David, is this something that your wife is into, or you? I don't want to judge. I mean, is this something you do?
I am certainly not the target audience for this. Yeah. No, I mean, I can't think of Marcy's tried any of the Disney spas, but I will agree with Shannon. I mean, they are priced comparably to what you would get in the tri-state area. So, I think their pricing's in line with where it should be, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I guess I just think, like, when I go to Disney, and maybe it was ingrained in me that you go and you just do the parks, and so the people who sit by the pool or that that go to the spa or even play golf while they're there. I like golf, but I don't want, if I'm at Disney, it's going to be weird that I'm playing golf and not in a theme park. That's just a thing. Like, I've played there before, but it also seems like, hey, I'm burning daylight that I could be spending on Space Mountain instead of on the 18th green. So I'm going
to blow your mind. There's people that go to Disney World that don't want to be there. Besides me.
I was going to say. I was going to put that out there. Yeah.
There's other people who don't want to be there, and it's like, okay, we'll do the family trip, but mom, one day mom wants to go, or dad, whatever, wants to go to the spa. One day dad or mom wants to go golfing. It's something for everyone. Right, and that was a big thing with Disney World when it opened, was the recreation beyond the parks from day one. So, it's good that they have a little bit of something for everybody.
I hear it's the vacation kingdom of the world.
I have heard.
So they say.
Yeah. Before we go on from this, Shannon, what's the treatment of choice? Like, is it a massage or is it like?
Yeah, Swedish massage. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's easier to do than it is to say. I get it.
I'll defend you, though, because with the golf situation, because I went for the first time with my husband to golf last year, and I thought it was going to be great, looking forward to it. But when I heard the ferry in the background and I started to play like garbage, I left at the ninth hole. Went to Magic Kingdom, so
Well, I mean,
it happens.
it's like there are things to do. You can go see a movie and at the AMC at Disney Springs, or you can go see Cirque du Soleil show, which is going to be a little bit different now. But you could go to you can play golf. There are a lot of things that you can do there, but I feel like if you're paying for that Disney experience, you want to experience the things you can only experience at Disney. So I get what you're saying, Tom, that like a lot of people want to do something different, and it's really cool that, in the old days with like the Norman Rockwell, what the heck tonight, painting that
All of us.
that you would, send dad off to the golf course and mom off to the spa, and the kids are in the park and all
Not
that.
everyone lives near a PGA quality golf course, though, right? That's another thing you got to keep in mind. Not everyone lives in a place where there's spas. Not everyone's from the tri-state area. People live in places where these things don't exist, or golf courses aren't of that quality. I think sometimes some of us live in places where we take those things for granted, right? In Disney, there is something for everyone, and so yeah, I think for some of us, it's like when Animal Kingdom opened in '98, and we were like, we live 2 blocks from the Bronx Zoo. We don't need to go to Animal Kingdom, right? But for other people, they never saw a gorilla before. They never saw a hippo underwater before. Like, it's something new for them. So like I said, something for everybody. Just because you've experienced it before doesn't mean, everybody has.
Yeah, that's a good point. But a lot of the offerings they used to have are gone now. The Richard Petty driving experience, that was another one that you could add on to that.
That was stupid. That's
the, what the
As
heck,
someone
dude?
who did it, I did it. I don't know. It's like this is.
Were you ride along or did you drive?
I did the ride along. It was
Okay, I drove. So there you go. But so then the other one is the.
I mean, you ever drive through the Magic Kingdom parking lot? It's pretty much the same thing. It's a lot more like obstacles, though.
Moving on to Disneyland, then let's talk about the offerings at the Lunar New Year, because I think this opened up and it's kind of running at the same time as the Festival of the Arts, and it's really unique. And I wish I could go to this, but it's neat that they do these things out there. I know that they do some stuff for Day of the Dead. I know they do some stuff for Three Kings Day. It's really neat that they have other offerings. It's the Year of the Tiger. They've got Mulan out here. They've got you can meet Raya. You can try all this really great food. And honestly, this is just, I feel like they've taken this to another level. And maybe, I don't know if this is as cool as it looks on paper, because like when I see this, I think about how much I love Festival of the Arts and how that's the coolest thing they do there. This to me looks like it could be one of the cooler things they do there. Tom, I know that you're planning on heading out there, but you haven't experienced this before yet, right?
This is the one I've always missed. Again, you guys talked about earlier, it's the time of year people generally don't travel, right, with Festival of the Arts. That's kind of what's happened with this. Usually we go out. Food and wine is a really big deal in California, so usually I go help with that. That's the first week in March, so I usually don't really visit, between January and March. They've had this for a couple of years. It's not new. It seems to get a little bigger every year, right? So they brought the same way they did Mirabelle for Encanto for the holiday celebration. They've now brought Raya in for this one, and they keep making the parade a little bigger, and they do their food booths, which they've been doing for all of these things forever. It's a nice little event. I'm sad that I'm finally going and they're not doing the World of Color tag, because World of Color is still not operating. But this is a nice little one. This is a weird one because it feels like it's the smallest of the bunch, which I guess Festival of the Arts similar. This is the smallest of the bunch. It has the least to it, but it still looks like something fun and different to keep people coming in a weird time of year.
Yeah, and definitely this food, looks amazing. And I feel like, it's all very, again, Instagrammable. Hopefully it tastes as good as it looks. You'll have to report back to us and let us know what you thought of it. But I know that all those reviews are on WDWNT.com. If you want to go take a look or you're planning on heading out there. Again, I think this one also runs through the 21st, same as the Festival of the Arts. Is that correct, or is it earlier than that?
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah. So
In the past, it's been way shorter, which is why I missed it. But is it till the 21st?
I will have to double check that. In the meantime, Shannon, have you been to this before?
It's through the 13th.
No, but
Okay, 13th. Thank you, David. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Shannon.
no, I don't think when I went for Mother's Day weekend, so I don't believe there was any kind of festival going on at that time. But I mean, you guys kind of basically all covered it already. It's nice that it's unique, and it is something in the same respect that Festival of the Arts is enough for me to want to plan a trip around it. It seems really great. It does seem like it's getting bigger. The merch seems cool. Food seems great. So hopefully one day put that on the bucket list.
Okay. David, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is enough to get me out to California this time of year, but I will say I really, really love the idea of these cultural type festivals popping up and just being, short, very focused. I'll call them mini festivals almost. I would love to see them do something like this in Florida, especially at EPCOT. If they could have the China Pavilion put on a little Lunar New Year type celebration just for a week or two, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That I think we've thought it seems like a no-brainer, especially if you're already doing this on one coast and you have this put together and you've got, this pavilion that is supposed to be celebrating China. It seems like this stuff should be there as well. So moving on from that we were talking about annual pass holders getting the shaft a little bit on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, honestly, with this new Magic Key, I feel like they're going out of their way, and maybe it's just because of the major changes that they've made, and they're trying to make people happier. Tom is looking very confused at me, but let's go through this first. So the Lunar New Year button, they've got
button.
Oh my God! Shut your. Okay, so they've got they do this for almost everything. They've got the photo. The photo spot.
A photo
set
op
up.
all in shadow. Oh, man. Wow.
Don't tell me you don't want this stuff, man.
Ooh,
I know
a cup with a corporate logo. Oh,
The
plastic sunglasses.
So anyway, here's what I want to say to you, man, is like, if you don't care about this stuff, when you go out and pick yours up, just give them to me. I'll take them because, I mean,
I want the lithograph. I like the print.
But
the rest is junk.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking.
Come on, 2 photo pass.
You're talking about this thing.
I'm sorry. I'm going to cut you off. Look at that. That's great. And the other one's great too. But that's the one that's specifically out while I'm there. There's the transportation one too, which is great. Which is great. People asked for months. They posted those on Instagram months ago. We're like, will this be for sale? Will this be available? And instead they were like, let's do something to remind people we maybe care about them. And so they just printed them off and they're going to give them to people, which is great. Free stuff is nice. I don't know that I really need a cup that just has like the Magic Key logo and no real Disneyland elements on it. That's not you thinking of me. That's just you being like, hey, we ordered this quickly on a cup. The phone case is like, I don't think there's a lot of Magic Key pride at this point. Like, people have had to fight for reservations. Everything underneath the top tier pass doesn't offer free parking. It's been a nightmare mess spectacular that is now going to end up in court. It's no coincidence that this is happening. And number 2, that suddenly I can make park pass reservations for whenever I want at Disneyland as a top tier Magic Key holder. Thank you for finally doing that. I know that was that had to be really hard on you guys out there at Disneyland to give that to us. This is the bare minimum. This is the bare minimum, considering that with the Magic Key Lounge, they've done special characters and costumes and things. I am hoping there is a little more to this. If this is an appreciation month, it should be greater than what you've done just tying into Halloween and Christmas.
But I go back to the fact that we don't get that in Florida. I don't see us getting a lot of perks and things.
It's not about Florida, right? Because we're a vast minority here, right? We're not the main guest here. In California, the repeat guest is almost everyone. It's ubiquitous there. And so they have to, in the past, they had to fight for these people. And now it's like, oh, we don't think you're valuable anymore. And if they're not valuable anymore, why did you even bring them back? Like, you obviously had some gaps in your business, and then you decide, oh, I guess we need them again. Yeah, I don't know. I think they've shot themselves in the foot. This is company-wide, this whole, we're going to focus on guest spending thing. And we want guests that spend more. We want better quality guests. And I think it's going to eventually get them, for lack of a term I can't say on this show. They're going to pay for it because eventually these other people are going to go away. And when the chips are down, you know who's there? The regulars. And when you piss off all the regulars, consider, if you look at that class action lawsuit, what did they say? There's like 3,000 and something top tier Magic Key. That's nothing. There were over 1 million pass holders before. You clearly sent away enough of your audience that used to give you money because you think they're not valuable. You're gonna pay for it eventually.
Yeah. All right, David. Do you agree that they're doing more? Do you think they should do more for us in Florida? I mean, I would fly down to Florida so that I could get my Figment magnet. I would probably fly out to California to get that stupid button. That's just me. I have problems though.
I would not do either of those. You know what? I don't need free merch. What I need is access, and I need actual things that are valuable to me. Give me if I'm a Disneyland AP holder, a Magic Key holder, what would be even more showing more appreciation to me is if they gave me free parking for a 3-month period or even a month period. Give me something that shows that they understand the amount of money that it costs to come to this park. So the same goes for Florida. You know, keep the free parking. Do something extra like that. Give us those type of things. I don't need another water bottle holder in my cabinet that's just going to collect dust.
But it's exclusive. Shannon.
Bring back tables in Wonderland.
No. How do I follow that up? Dave just mic dropped. But yeah, we don't need the junk anymore. I mean, I was there for Disney Plus Day, and they had a hamper out in the hub of those crappy baseball hats. And people are just grabbing them. And they were, I mean, honestly, it's probably already disintegrated in my closet. It was that poor quality. So it's true. That's all I have to say.
The hat they had for 5 minutes at Disneyland, and then they took their photos, and then they were gone. And people were like, but on the internet, you showed tables full of hats, and now you don't have them. Yep, they're gone.
So I'm going to skip these last two things and mention a super chat we have here from Fizbin for $4.99. Thank you. I don't get Figment. Can somebody on the panel explain the obsession with him? Even Chubby the merchandise bird is more endearing than Figment.
Oh, you're a mental case.
Wow. No, he doesn't mean that. He doesn't mean that. That's no. I might. I think that a lot of us have an affection for Figment because of the original attraction. I think that the new attraction is just definitely doesn't do justice to the original, but I still think that, Figment is.
He's the mascot of Imagineering. He's the embodiment of the imagination. He's this cute little purple dragon. I mean, he's the symbol of everything that's good and pure about EPCOT Center. And when the Walt Disney Company didn't have, a terrible corporate agenda, it represents the purity of the thing we love.
Fair. Okay. So let's move on. We're going to have one last commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to have our conversation about what we think are the best and worst refurbishments in Disney parks, and we'll be right back. Stick around for more ParksCenter.
Welcome to Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside and a panel of Disney superfans as they take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog, tell you its history, details, give their review, and let you know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes, or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube at unplanneddowntime.com.
WDWNT presents Timekeeping, a year-by-year journey through the history of the vacation kingdom of the world. Join us for the premiere Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern or watch on demand anytime on the WDW News Today YouTube channel.
And welcome back again to ParksCenter. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you guys coming back every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And don't forget all this other programming we've got. This Tuesday night on our Unplanned Downtime channel, we will be doing our 99th episode of Deep in the Plus with Soul. And then right after that will be Timekeeping on the main channel. And then on Thursday night, again, as we've mentioned, the 200th episode of WDW News Tonight. Almost screwed that up, Tom. Sorry about that. I know. You're shaking your head.
Making Rob real nervous. I should not be on this show.
It's fine. You're fine. You're fine. It's all fine. So one of the things we talked about was we were talking about. I had this thought when I was writing the Grand Fiesta Tour and thinking about the original attraction that was in that space. So the River of Time, Rio del Tiempo, and I loved that attraction as a kid because I didn't know like it could be something different. And so they went and they did this, what I thought was a refurbishment, not necessarily a complete retheming. There's a lot of pieces to it. And so Tom and I were talking about this, like what is a refurbishment, what is a retheming, and then what is a replacement. And so this is the way that I'll break it down, is that I feel like a replacement is something like Horizons. They demolish it, they put up Mission Space, or something like, Cosmic Rewind, which is going to be nothing like Universe of Energy or Ellen. And so, that's just the building or the shell. But then you've got this, if it's a retheming, yeah, that was cool. If it's a retheming, it's going to be something along the lines of Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, where you took the Tower of Terror in California and you rethemed it. It's still the same building, same ride system, same everything. It's just been rethemed. But refurbishment is you take it down, you give it some love and care that it needs, but when it comes back up, it's got something where they plussed it out, some extra magic that's been added. So I asked everyone on the panel to come up with where they think they have seen the best refurbishment and the worst refurbishment. And because we want to end this on a high note, I want to ask you guys first about what you think the worst refurbishment is that you've seen in a Disney Parks attraction. I'm going to start with you, Shannon. Which one do you think is the worst one that you've seen? I know you're trying to be more positive, but let me have it. What's the worst?
Yeah, it's terrible. Test Track. I mean, it was so good. That queue, even if you were standing there for 2 hours, was so over the top, detailed and immersive, and it had things moving, and you never lost, never got bored. There was always something there. And all these physical sets and physical things that you see, the blocks, the Belgian blocks that you're running over, and then you have the hot room, the cold room, the corrosive. It was all so well done. And to strip that all away for some neon trees and GM advertisement for OnStar is horrible. So, I think it was good in concept that you could build your own car, design it and then test it out. But I didn't feel that we were at that point in time that ride had to be changed so dramatically and for the worse.
I don't think anybody on this panel would disagree with you about that one, that it was a downgrade for that. So any other additional thoughts on that one before we move on to David's?
It made it so sterile is kind of my problem with it. Everything just felt so typical of what you'd experience. I mean, the Test Track original was something that you felt like you would never have been able to experience that outside of a theme park. So at least very few of us, unless we worked in the auto industry. So being able to have that was very nice. I don't understand why they couldn't have combined the design your own car with the original Test Track and kind of had the best of both worlds.
Well, and Tom Corliss, you built an empire on the 257, so...
Seven.
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 7. The design your own car is the downfall of the entire thing. It doesn't work. Number one, it slows down the queue process. You sit in that room, no one's really into it, you wait forever, the doors open, they try to jam you into the next section, then you're on the ride, it doesn't show up on half the screens, it's a total waste of time. If it wasn't going to affect any of the scenes, if the scenes of the ride were not going to change based on what you built, if you weren't going to be able to build like a toy version at the end, if it doesn't serve any of those purposes, there was no reason to put this stupid gimmick in. This gimmick didn't work. And, it's a product of the time, right? Interactive queues. They wanted to do interactive queues. This is one where some of them work. Some are great. Peter Pan, beautiful job. It's a wonderful room. It adds a lot to that queue. Test Track, it destroys the whole system. The whole process of queuing for that attraction is decimated. Even with Lightning Lane, you wait a half hour, mostly because of that stupid design studio.
I think it also told the story. Go ahead, Rob.
There it is.
There it is. Pick one.
They're my parents. There they are.
So my last thought on this is that you didn't need to know a backstory. Even with something like Rise, when I wrote it the first time, I was so overstimulated and trying to look at everything that I really didn't know what was happening and had to write it the second time to really understand. This, you knew exactly what was happening. You were set up perfectly in the queue. That pre-show kind of tied it all together, and then you were out on the attraction and you knew exactly what happened leading up to it. So I thought it was beautiful, and it told its own story.
Okay, so David, what do you think is the worst one of all time?
So for my choice, I chose Spaceship Earth. This was, in my mind, a disaster of a refurb. And specifically the one I'm talking about is the Jeremy Irons version to the current version that we have now. I know people argue the Cronkite version, but I don't feel like there's that much of a drop-off from Cronkite to Irons. But from Irons to what we have now just feels like, you know what the problem is? It feels like they dumbed it down so much for people that it didn't need to be that. Not only did they remove almost the entire the ending of this attraction, the back half, when replaced with the triangles that we joked about forever, but even the narration from the very beginning, as much as I enjoy, the vocal quality of the narration, it's a dumb narration. You don't have to tell me that Roman roads are the World Wide Web of back then. I get that. I understand how roads work. You don't have to explain it in these computer terms. It's just, I feel spoken down to so much. And, as an attraction that's supposed to, attract all age groups, so disappointing.
Let's make sure not to blame Dame Judi Dench, though. It's not her fault.
Yeah,
why does everyone
agree.
hate on her?
No, but
I like her. Like I said, I like her vocal quality and her ability to tell a story. I just don't like the story they're having her tell.
Well, and I think we quantify it by it's the Cronkite version, the Jeremy Irons version, and the Dame Judi Dench version. So I think that may be the case. But I think most of us would agree to that. Which of these versions did you actually get to do, Shannon?
I don't remember. When was when did it switch to Judi Dench? What year?
2008, 7, 8.
Oh, yeah. So I was on it before then for sure. But I remember the scenes when you were going backwards for sure. But all I have to say about it is I'm tired of this. Take your picture taken and this is me on the screen. My one eye is showing.
Another stupid
Why
gimmick.
can't we fix that?
Yeah.
Nope.
Right? Is it just me?
Yeah, Tom, I think you're pretty clear on which one you like the best of the Spaceship Earth versions.
I'll go the next 40 minutes of this show on Spaceship Earth 94 because I think it was not only the best version of Spaceship Earth, I think it's one of the best versions of any Disney attraction that's ever existed. I think Epcot was at its best when it's inspirational, and I think the 94 Spaceship Earth, that was the most inspirational second half of any Epcot ride. I miss a lot of little things, but the information tunnel, which led to when you'd go out to the top and look back at Earth from space, that little just neon and those flashing lights and things, I just love that so much. The music was incredible. And then that whole descent of like in the future you're going to be able to talk to people, and it predicted the future so well of like, you're going to attend, graduations and the birth of a new family member, all these things digitally via screen. It's like, oh, your new baby sister and the class of blah blah blah, and then just that big fiber optics are great. That big sweeping score, the beautiful narration, and that fiber optic canopy going over you, that would just get me every time. I just be like, this is just the most beautiful theme park ride. I love this. And it's how I want to feel at Epcot. At Epcot, I want to feel inspired that tomorrow's going to be better than today.
David Lung says, don't blame the Venetians. So, Tom, what do you think is the worst refurbishment, the biggest downgrade that we've seen in a Disney Parks attraction? I know what you're going to say. Oh, you think that was it? You think that was it?
The one David, that's the one I would have picked. I would have picked that '08 Spaceship Earth because I don't even like Spaceship Earth anymore, to the point where people were so worried about this upcoming refurb, and I'm like, I don't even care. Like, it can't be worse. It can't possibly, the famous last words, it can't possibly be worse than it is now.
It's worse.
But which one do you think I'm going to say?
That popcorn bucket that's sitting next to you. You don't think imagination?
That's not a refurb. That's not a refurb.
You don't think so?
There's no way no.
That was a replacement?
It's not a refurb if you rip out half the track and all the animatronics and all the scenes. It's not a refurbishment. No, that's a new ride. That's a whole different thing. But as far as like refurbishments, I was stuck between. There's like three I'm stuck between. Like the first one would be when they got rid of the auction scene at Pirates of the Caribbean. But they did some other little things to like placate fans in that one where I'm like, okay, you cleaned up the beach. You did some other little things like that. I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then I almost went with Kilimanjaro Safaris when they took out the Little Red story because it really made it kind of lame. But in the end, the absolute worst refurbishment of all time is the most recent Tomorrowland Speedway refurbishment. Because the Tomorrowland Speedway was already a piece of garbage. And what they did was they decided we're not gonna replace any walls. We're not gonna do any of that. We're just gonna strip the theming off. So now in the load area, you have these teal brick walls on the side. There's no theme to them. They're just these teal, not even brick, they're like concrete block walls, and they're just teal. They ripped the murals off them. They didn't replace them. And in the queue, the same thing. They took like the map off the wall, and it's just a white wall. So it legitimately looks like the queue looks like it's from Six Flags. Because it was built in 1971, and it's completely sterile. And they just painted over things in teal, and they did one coat, so it's peeling, and you could start to see the old colors through everything. And even at like the front, they took those fake gates down, so again, it's just a white wall. So there's not even like those fake, storage gates where supposedly the Indy cars are stored. This ride was already trash, and now it has no storytelling components. You repainted things. You've decided Tomorrowland's going to be these like three colors. You repainted the Speedway, and it has no story elements whatsoever. It's like it was a refurbishment that's literally, hey guys, just strip stuff, paint, and just walk away. And I think that makes this it's got to be the worst refurbishment of any ride in the history of Disney World. It's got to be.
Okay. Do you guys have thoughts on that, David, Shannon, or?
It's not what I had thought of, but I definitely see it now. I guess it's been so long since I've gone on that I hadn't realized they've made it worse than it was before. So
great correlation.
Yeah, like at least before there were like three things to look at.
Yeah. I was gonna say, great Corliss, you ruined another one for him. Fantastic. Poor David. Now he hates it all. Shannon, what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So
it hurts my heart.
So let's go back to Tom first.
Is that because you breathing in the fumes? Is that why?
Yeah. I got a mask now, don't you know?
Tom, I'm going to let you go first then on the best refurbishment, since you didn't get to say Spaceship Earth. So what's the best refurbishment?
Good. I'm going to get back at David because I'm sure this is David's best one.
Oh,
Haunted Mansion 2007.
Oh,
They did such a beautiful. Our Haunted Mansion was in ruins. It was the audio was destroyed. It was bad. It was very bad. And so they went in and they just redid everything, painted and redid the audio systems, the stretching room. The stretching room, they decided we're going to put in a whole new surround sound system, and the ghost host actually seemingly moves around the room. And it's wonderful. And then they're like, oh, we got to cover these subwoofers, though. And so someone went and drew up this really cool, grate with a face in it that's not based on anything that was already in the mansion, but it looks like it's been there forever. And it's really wonderful. And then they're like, okay, load area. Let's move the sinister portraits out here because we're going to do this new scene from Disneyland, the hallway with the lightning and thunder, where the portraits change, and that's great. Then we're going to do this. We're going to do something no one's gotten before. We're going to do the staircase scene. We're tired of this really dumb spiderweb staircase scene. We got to do something with this. And so they put in this MC Escher style staircase scene, which is just glorious, and it only exists in Florida, and it's great. But then what's even better is just this little thing after it, where they're like, people have always liked the wallpaper. People have always loved the wallpaper. What if we played into that and draw more attention to it, so maybe like the first time guests kind of get the idea of what's happening. You feel like you're being watched. There's eyes in the wallpaper. We're going to do this bit where it goes from like pitch black and there's just these eyes watching you, and then they slowly blend and become the wallpaper. And then beyond that, it fixed everything up. Beyond these couple of new scenes, everything just looked so much better. The audio in the Doom Buggies was better. This was a tremendous refurbishment that there was no one came off that and went, oh, they ruined the Haunted Mansion. Everyone came off and went, oh, we now have the best Haunted Mansion.
why didn't they add the Hatbox Ghost?
Well, that came later, but yeah, we also got the bride scene. I forget to mention that one too, but that was a good change too. But we didn't get the Hatbox Ghost because money, because no one wanted to have a 50th anniversary that meant something. So.
And I know that Shannon agrees with you. David, any thoughts on that one?
I almost chose Haunted Mansion because of the reasons that Tom outlined. That
Yeah.
They did such a nice job, and I think the audio quality is something that sometimes gets ignored, but they've done a good job on a number of these refurbs of making the audio quality better. I think about what they did with Country Bear. I think it was Country Bears as well as A Small World in the last refurb. They really did a nice job with the audio of those.
Yeah, for me, I would, and this is probably very divisive, is I would say Small World in California, where they added all of the Disney characters in, because I think a lot of people thought that was going to be a very sellout move to do. You're shoehorning IP in again, but honestly, I think they've done a very good job of keeping in the same style. For me, I like that. I think that's kind of cool, and I think that little kids who ride through it, there's something extra for them to be looking for when they go through it. Now, again, I know it's probably
That America scene though.
Yeah, well, but again, overall, I think that's a neat little thing, and it's like you go through in the Easter eggs, and there's Ariel, and there's Stitch, and it's kind of fun to do. So for me, that would be the one I think was a good upgrade. David, what's the one you picked?
So I might get some disagreement on this one, but the one that I wanted to point out as an example of how to do a good one, I think, was actually Jungle Cruise most recently. And I want to tread carefully here because I don't want to get into whether they needed to make these changes or not. But I do want to commend them for how they made the changes, how they still respected the history of this attraction, how they still kept the basic experience of this attraction, the feeling and the thoughts behind it, the comedy behind it, and they kept all that while still replacing scenes and making it something that, I hate this phrase, but to make it more accessible to everybody. So I think they did a nice job with that, and maintaining the integrity of Jungle Cruise was important, and I feel like they were successful in it.
Okay, Tom, you agree?
My only problem with that refurb was the reliance on jungle businesses, river businesses, right? There's a little too much reliance on adding river businesses, but everything they added, every scene they added looked like it's been there forever, and also looks, it looks like Jungle Cruise. Nothing was a quality downgrade, right? So that's all you can ask for.
Okay. Shannon?
It's also nice to have fresh jokes, I think. Those scenes add some new variety to the skit, so that's nice for all of us who go all the time.
Okay. And were you able to come up with something?
Yeah, so Tom took my pick. So I had to
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is payback. I was going to mention, I think the greatest thing about the Haunted Mansion refurb was the removal of the party fair spiders. They needed to go. But Dumbo, although I don't really care about Dumbo all that much, I think it was a novel idea to move it out of that crazy area in Fantasyland that, you just want to die because there are so many people. And I don't really care about the two-ride system, but the fact that it's like a restaurant where you can get your little pager and your kids can go run around and have fun, and the parents can sit in AC for a bit and relax until their time is called. I think that's brilliant, and they should incorporate that into more places.
Yeah, and before you mean it's like a restaurant where you get a pager. I just want to make sure nobody's going in looking for food after they hear this, because it's not a restaurant. Exactly.
They're in the pavement. You got to pick them out.
You got to pick them out. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I honestly, I think that, I think Kim Irvine said at one of the D23 expos that when they take an attraction down for an extended period of time, when they bring it back up, it should have some extended or extra magic to it. And I think that that's true. I don't think that always happens, but I wish that would be the case, that they would plus things out and not minus them, because we've seen a lot where they've minus them. And whether, Figment was actually, a ride replacement, they took something that was great and still had the name Imagination on it and put something in it that was just subpar, and it didn't seem like it needed to happen. That's just my opinion on that. So, anything else that you guys want to say, just again, to close this out? I'll start with you, Tom, around the horn here, about refurbishments in general, pros, cons, things you've seen, things you liked. What are we going to see in the future?
I don't know what we're going to see in the future, because there were supposed to be a bunch of them for the 50th, and obviously they didn't have, like, Small World was supposed to add characters here, and Big Thunder was supposed to maybe get that finale scene finally, where now you just go past some static rocks and nothing really happens. It's pretty sad. Yeah, I think I agree with Kim. Unlike what Kim said, it doesn't always happen. We had lots of 50th refurbs where, I remember when Peter Pan happened, 2-3 years ago. That was for the 50th specifically. But they fixed the lighting and everything, but they didn't add anything. Despite the fact that, the Disneyland Peter Pan and even Paris had added new stuff because, it's already developed. The fact is, the stuff was developed and we were just like, nah. Oh, it's already designed? No, we don't need it. We're fine. We'll just keep showing that spinning flashlight in the first scene where your head ends up in Peter's projection. It's fine. We'll live with that. And then the Big Thunder finale where they're like, everyone else got it. Oh, we don't need it. It's all right. We'll be okay. Yeah, so it doesn't always happen. It should. We really should. Like this Everest refurb, I hope to see something improved or new. And if there isn't, then shame on them for a 4-month closure of a ride they claimed they needed to wait to close for a refurbishment once more was open in the park. Now more is open in that park, and they're finally taking the ride down. And now you're going to do nothing? It's lame. It's not a good show.
Yeah, agree. David?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think if you're going to bring an attraction down for an extended period of time, make it worth it for the guests. Make the guests appreciate that they didn't have it for that amount of time. So add something extra. Now, one that I'll call out, I don't know if it exactly qualifies as a refurb, but I do really appreciate what they've done with Small World and the facade and the paint job that got. I really like that, just to point out something else that I'm positive about.
Cool. And Shannon?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it positive. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait and see for the next major refurb. Maybe that's Spaceship Earth. So I'll reserve judgment.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for being on the panel tonight. Really appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. Every Sunday night, ParksCenter, 8 p.m. We would love to have you back time and time again. Please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. Do not forget about the huge 200th episode of WDW News Tonight, this Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tom, 3 hours. Anything else you want to say about it before we move on?
No, just please watch it.
And then also, if you want to learn more about our wigs, the WDW-NT Interglobe Society, we love our wigs. Thank you guys so much. It's our Patreon program. You can find out more at patreon.com/WDWNT. You get great things like a post show for this show tonight. So if you are a wigs member, we will see you in the post show. Otherwise, thank you guys again for being with us. We'll see you next week on ParksCenter. Have a great night. Have a great week, and be safe out there, guys.